welcome to this episode of Industry Insights. I'm Varin Senthil, a sophomore at Troy High School, Michigan. For our first-time viewers, I started this podcast for my fellow high schoolers and for the ones who are trying to figure out career paths that they want to go for. It was challenging for me and my other friends to get a better understanding of what we wanted to do when we grow up. Although there are like amazing stories of other successful people like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and a lot of other successful CEOs. I don't really know any other information about other people who happen to be working for um, high CEOs like these. Having perspective on different working professions, especially hearing directly from people in the industry, would very likely help motivate other people like myself to focus on the key skills and to pick which career path they want to go through. This podcast would be beneficial for multiple high schoolers as well as to industry leaders, and would also give back to the community. So that means, which means the high schoolers can make their first career move, and also make relationship with expert advisors and access to a network of best tech and beyond. With no further delay, I would like to welcome our industry expert Joseph Smalls. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
To just go into the questions, what's your profession and what do you do?
Yeah. So currently, I'm a global account manager at Amazon Web Services, or AWS. And that is basically a technical sales role, or tech sales for short. Yeah.
Um, what does tech sales do specifically?
Yeah. So, I mean, tech sales is such a broad, I guess, phrase. But for me, Amazon Web Services is a part of Amazon that is their cloud computing arm, and it's it's a business to business typically model. And we have, over the past 15 plus years, 20 years, built out, I don't know, 300 plus services to support other businesses' operations, whether it's helping run their normal business applications or helping store data or helping with machine learning, data science. There's just about everything now with as many services as we have that AWS provides for our customers.
Okay. How did you get into this profession?
Yeah, so very high level overview. I graduated from, since this is relevant for you, I graduated from high school in 2009. So it's very long ago, if you guys look back. But after high school, I played volleyball. So I was recruited to Loyola of Chicago and was at Loyola from 2009 and was there for 5 years. So I redshirted my first year, which is an athletic term that means that you don't play in actual games, but you still practice for the first year and you're allowed a fifth year of eligibility. So I was going to be there for 5 years. And so I decided to do Loyola's 5-year BBA MBA program. So in 2013, I graduated from undergrad with management degree, business management, and 2014, I graduated with a master's in international business. And kind of leading to what got me into technology. I'll get there eventually, but I want to talk especially to the audience that you're, appealing to. Is I didn't know exactly what schooling I wanted to get into at Loyola. I started, I think, in arts and sciences, and then I changed to business. And within business, probably up until near the end of my sophomore, early junior year, I'd probably switch my major a few times from, accounting and finance to I had entrepreneurship and wanted to double major, but then did the 5-year path and settled on management. And so I didn't know until kind of mid-college what exact part of the business school I wanted to get my specialty in. And through high school, we definitely, at least my high school, didn't really have many business programs. And at the time, if there were business programs, I wasn't interested in business at that time. So I think one of the main things that I'd love to get across to your audience is that you don't have to have all the answers right now. You just have to be open to trying new things and kind of following things that interest you. And as soon as they don't interest you, really reflect on if that's because of legit reasons or if it really is something that you might need to just grind out a little bit longer before determining if you want to do it. So fast forward through college, graduated in 2014. One of my dreams before getting into a corporate world was to pursue my volleyball career afterwards. And so I played 2 years of professional volleyball in Europe, 1 year in Finland and 1 year in France. And so that was from 2014 to 2016. And after 2 years of doing that and traveling and seeing the world, I decided, and my then girlfriend, now wife, decided that it was time for us to kind of start planning our roots down a little bit more. And kind of leading up into the end of that second season of volleyball, I started to think about what I wanted to get into once the season was over. And I knew technology was something that I'd always been interested in since a young age, like building PCs and playing video games, and just the whole idea of technology in IT was an interest. And I did tons and tons of interviews, got tons and tons of no's, but finally locked in a first entry level technology sales role at a company called SoftChoice, which is an IT reseller. So this is great. This is a great first position out of college because it was a basically Tech 101 for recent grads, where they train you heavily on what software is, what hardware is, what networking is, what the cloud is, and then kind of basically test you by seeing if you could sell it. And again, business to business. So I did that for a year and a half, learned a ton, probably a very, very valuable experience. And then I was approached by and ended up taking a position at Dell, which is kind of another big company. Well, I guess the first big company, SoftChoice, wasn't that large. Dell is a very global company. And since I decided to focus my master's on international business, I knew I wanted to be in a global setting. I knew I wanted to be working for a big company. And so Dell was a huge opportunity. So did that for a year. And again, I got approached by somebody from Amazon Web Services. And again, it was another, in my opinion, kind of step up in terms of a larger company, more global reach, bigger opportunity, and decided to pursue that. And that was almost 4 years ago now. So have been at AWS ever since.
I have a question regarding that.
Yeah.
What does a tech seller exactly do?
Yeah. So at SoftChoice, what we did was we were trained, like I mentioned, in software, hardware, networking. So think of all the hardware and software vendors out there, like Adobe, Dell, HP, Apple. We were taught on all these products, and then our goal was to work with businesses to actually help procure them. And then, so the example of Apple and Dell, that's kind of a very easy example. But if you think about what runs actual businesses, like what runs multi-thousand employee organizations, it's more than just computers at the back end. It's data center hardware, so massive server racks, really intense networking hardware, very expensive stuff. So we had to learn, at least at a very high level, what a lot of these hardware and software do, and be able to kind of share what the value proposition of procuring this hardware or software is. And if they saw the value, then they would purchase it. And so that's it. So sales is just learning a product, really understanding it, and really believing in it, and really believing that it could bring a ton of value to whoever you're working with. Yeah.
What is the most important lesson you've learned over your career?
Oh, most important lesson I've learned. So I have I've loved what I've been doing throughout my professional career. I think one of the reasons why I love it more is because I'm able to kind of tether in other things that I'm passionate about, like giving back or volunteering or fundraising. And all the companies that I've worked with have a pretty decent corporate social responsibility strategy. So like at Dell, for example, they did donation matching. At Amazon here, we have just a group of amazing people that are always looking for opportunities to volunteer. So I've been able to, at all the companies that I work for, kind of rally my employees and either go to volunteer events or fundraise. And so that brought a whole nother meaning to the jobs that I've been in, working for companies that do care about CSR, that do care about giving back, and have employees and teammates that share that that want and need to give back. And so yeah, I don't know if that answered the question, but I think I've just had an awesome opportunity to experience that in the companies that I work for.
Okay. What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone else starting off with your career?
Yeah, I would say have a very, very open mind, prepare to be challenged, and lean on your teams and others as much as you need to. It's similar to like starting high school, similar to starting college. It's a whole new chapter in your life, and it's very it can be very stressful, and there's good stress and there's bad stress. So stay in the good stress realm. And the way to do that is to work hard, is to ask questions, is to have an open mind. Absolutely.
Are there any common myths about your job and field? And if they are they actually true?
Yeah, well, for Amazon, whenever I tell people I work here, they think like, oh, you like drive a car, you work in the actual fulfillment centers. But I don't think people know how massive Amazon is. Like massive, Amazon's like Whole Foods. So Amazon Web Services is just a very small portion of the overall company of Amazon. So I guess the myth at my current job is I'm not the delivery driver. I'm kind of behind the scenes, kind of working on the cloud side of the house. But another myth, I guess, more broadly speaking, of sales is, and I had this before I even took my first position, is I never saw myself being a salesperson, and until I was, and until I understood what it meant to be in sales, and that it isn't the stereotypical soul sucking, I'm trying to swindle somebody. It's more so there's a lot of amazing companies out there offering some really awesome products and services that could change the world. And I'm very lucky to be a part of, and have been a part of companies that have done that. And so just a whole different perspective on what sales is I've had over the past 6 years.
Were you an introvert or extrovert in high school? And did it have an impact on your career?
Yeah. So this is a funny question. So I'd say in high school, I was more extroverted than I am now, like much more extroverted. So um, I, I think a lot of things led me from moving from an extrovert to an introvert, that we could get into. But I'd say that just the fact that I've changed means that anyone could, you're not set into a specific, and you're an introvert or an extrovert for the rest of your life. No, things could happen where you change that. And I definitely went from an extrovert to more of an introvert. Yeah.
What's one lesson your job has taught you that you think everyone should learn at some point in their life?
One lesson my job has taught me that anyone should learn. Um, let's see. I think that, and I'll have to speak to COVID. The thing that comes to my mind first is it's a lot harder to have a team environment and have camaraderie and that experience in a virtual state. And it's probably a mixture of me not maybe trying hard enough to create that experience for myself, but I never thought how challenging it would be with COVID to still have that team feel. And so like going into COVID, when it happened, we had a lot of like different like happy hours and stuff to try to keep together and have a team environment. But I come from team sports, so this is one of the reasons why I decided to leave Dell, was because it was a very remote position and my team was all in Texas and I was in Chicago. And it was really hard to have that team environment that I had at Soft Choice and that I had in my professional and collegiate volleyball career. So one thing I definitely learned is it takes a lot of effort to create a culture on a team that you want. Yeah.
Um, well, what has been your favorite job you've held and why?
Oh, I'd probably have to say my current job, just from the fact of how long my tenure's been. So at Soft Choice, I was there for a year and a half, Dell for a year, and here it's been almost 4 years. And I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. So that's a testament in and of itself. So as much as I do appreciate the roles I had prior to AWS, especially in building me to who I am today, But I really love this job at Amazon, and there's so much more beyond AWS that Amazon is doing that they don't really advertise, that we as employees have access to, related to things like giving back and volunteering, and how Amazon takes the responsibility of disaster relief in impoverished areas and areas that have been struck in by natural and other disasters. So I definitely would say Amazon. Not counting volleyball, right? If you, some people count that as a career, you're getting paid to play volleyball, which I love that too. But in terms of wanting to create the kind of the lifestyle that my wife and I want for our 1-year-old and our soon to be born in January 2nd daughter. Yeah, this is the best job so far.
What's one question you wish I'd ask you, and how would you have answered it?
Um, let's see. I would I would love to hear, especially from your perspective, and since you're wanting to speak and work with the high school audience that you're working with, is what are some of your concerns, and what do you think some of the other concerns? And so what question would you ask me? It's more so like something that I'm curious about. That way I can maybe respond in a different way, is what do you think are some of the concerns that you and some of your high schooler counterparts have going into college, and if they don't want to go to college, going into kind of a corporate job or a job in a different capacity?
I would say that most of my friends in high school are a little bit scared of like not having all the requirements they need to get into college,
Mm,
or just like, oh, I'm not even sure what this job even entails, or oh, if I'll even enjoy it.
yep.
Because most of
Yeah.
them have complained about, oh, I honestly don't have any idea um if I'll actually enjoy this job or if I
Yeah.
enjoy this career path.
Totally. Now, I'll have to go all Amazon on you with this. Is I It's very normal to feel that way. Absolutely. The thing about jobs is they're pretty much, we have an expression of a one-way door and a two-way door at Amazon. A one-way door is a door that once you go through, it is very, very strenuous to go back, and sometimes impossible to go back. A two-way door is going through and being able to kind of undo in a way that decision. And honestly, especially at a younger age, like in high school, jobs and opportunities that come across your plate are absolutely two-way doors. So there's nothing that says an internship that you do or a side gig where you do a concession stand just for money. There's nothing that says that you can't stop doing that if you want to, and there's nothing that says that you're locked into that for the rest of your life. My advice to high schoolers would be, if there is a job, take it. If you have the time, obviously, after you understand what's priority and whether it's like you need to spend more time with schooling or whatnot. But if there's an opportunity to work at your age, I would absolutely take that opportunity. Probably no matter what it is, because you'll start to get experience, and not necessarily industry specific experience, but experience in what it's like to get a paycheck, to even if it's a paid internship or a paid job. But you'll experience what it's like to work for somebody, to have somebody giving you feedback on your performance. And that's very, very valuable, especially at the age that y'all are at. So I would not be concerned about taking a job at such a young age, because it will start building a really solid foundation that'll help you in the future, no matter what it is.
Um, what job would you ask someone to go to if they wanted to start off with sales?
Um, so sales. So my first sales. So you could argue this, right? So I worked in concessions probably even before high school, and and that could be a sales role, right? Because you're selling goods that are in front of you, but there's higher priced items that maybe might not be selling, or maybe that people wouldn't know about, and so you could argue that that was sales. I also had a job where I was selling hand woven rugs to designers, and that was definitely sales, right? You're selling pretty expensive rugs in the design industry that are made in India, Nepal, Turkey, etc. So so that was definitely sales. So I'm trying to remember what the original question was, actually.
Like what type of like jobs would you ask someone
Yeah.
would someone like have to do, or
Gotcha.
would be helpful for them to do?
Yep. So I would say, based on where I was going with my answers, is just about any job could be a sales job, and it just depends on how you want to frame it. And so that would be the short answer to that question.
Regarding your job as tech sales,
Mhm.
what exactly do you sell?
Yes. So we sell the cloud. No, Amazon Web Services, they have cloud services. So some of our core services are EC2, which is Elastic Compute Cloud. It's basically server space where people could, run their business applications. We also sell another top service in terms of revenue for our company is S3, which is simple storage service. And so this is very similar to like your phone where you store your photos on, or your contact information. Think of how much data a enterprise needs to store. So that's another big service. There's more fun services other than that, like SageMaker, which is our machine learning, one of our machine learning services. So companies that want to, for example, an automotive company that wants to, if you think about a Tesla or a Rivian, companies that are trying to create driverless vehicles and autonomous vehicles, there's a lot that goes into that, a lot of machine learning simulations, a lot of compute storage execution that helps progress that autonomy journey that companies like that are, and that's an example of another service that we sell in a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your career path and some really great insights. I'm sure that this will be very helpful for people who would like to go into sales or even tech sales.
Yeah.
Once again, thank you for participating in my podcast, and have a great day.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Anytime.